Back Swamp Volunteer Fire Department, located in the unincorporated area of Onslow County, was chartered in January of 1975, when a need for fire protection proved too great to ignore. Built on land donated to the organization by the Fountain family and with timber cut from the land, the community built something they have been proud of since its inception. Originally, the building was a small 3-bay firehouse with 1 pumper, 1 tanker, and a Jeep. Throughout the years, they have both grown and updated their fleet to now accommodate 3 pumpers, 1 tanker, 1 rescue, 1 brush unit, and 1 QRV. Within this video, you will see some of our past members tell the history of this place and how it grew to what is now. So sit back and enjoy as we dive into our history.
I'm J.D. Futrell from the Back Swamp Fire Department. I'm 90 years old, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about the development of the Back Swamp Fire Department. I was one of the first members joined this fire department, and I'm still here, and I enjoy it, especially with the people here now. Mr. Golly Fountain, he was our first fire chief. He done a fabulous job. And down the road, we only had 1 tanker, 1 pumper, but we made it. We made a department out of it. Down the road, we developed and organized. We got a new truck, and the firefighters here is really, really good. In 1975, we started the barbecue and everything. And I've been here every single one except 1.
So you answered my question, first one. So you were one of the first members at the firehouse.
Yes, sir.
What year is that again?
1975.
And we had 2 trucks.
2 trucks.
You remember where the tanker come from?
The tanker comes from Deep Run.
How many gallons did it hold? Do you remember?
I believe they told us 280. I'm not sure.
280 gallons?
I might be wrong, but I believe it.
And it was a homemade truck,
It
right?
was a homemade rig. Yes, sir.
So before we had Back Swamp, you said before Richlands used to come out to us. How long did it take them to respond?
I would say probably 25, 30 minutes.
Back then it was all dirt roads.
All dirt roads.
So it took a while.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember, was there like a major fire that was like the determining factor for starting Back Swamp? Or did like somebody's house burned down that said, hey, we need a fire department or something like that? Or was it just...
After Piggly Wiggly burnt down, and we had just started organizing good, and then this community got real strong. Said, we need a fire department. And this community got strong, big strong. And this is where it's come today.
So, do you remember your first call?
No, sir, I sure don't.
Do you remember how you felt when you used to go to calls? Were you excited to go on calls?
Well, at first, it was pretty stressful. But down the road, it got all right. But we had to ride the back of the truck on the back.
What was that like?
You had to hang on.
Summertime was nice, wintertime wasn't so much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Do you have a favorite memory from being at the department?
Remember, what I do right now is for the department. What I do right now is the barbecues.
What do you do at the barbecues?
I do all the meat mixing. That's my job. I've only missed 1 barbecue at this firehouse.
Was there any, besides, so you said the Piggly Wiggly burnt down. Was that when we were starting the fire department?
It was, we had been organized a while, but it was a bad fire.
Do you remember where that Piggly Wiggly was in town?
Right where it is now.
Okay.
They built it right back where it's at now.
Any advice you have for newer members or people who want to join the fire department? Do you have any advice for them?
Do what now?
Do you have any advice for newer people on the department? Any words of wisdom?
Yeah, what I like to see is what you all do, is work together, be together, and love one another. That's what it's all about. And that's what makes the department strong for everybody and the outside firefighters too.
In the 50 years we've been in service, how many fire chiefs have we had from the start?
4.
Just 4.
4.
4 in 50 years.
4 to 50 years.
Who were those 4? Who started off and where are we at now?
Mr. Golly Fountain was the first one.
Huh?
Irvin Futrell, my brother, was the second one. Cabbage Rouse was the third. And you got Charles Fountain right now. He's the chief right now.
Huh?
Were you an officer at one point at the department?
He's assistant training officer. They called me the sergeant.
Called the sergeant back then.
Yes, sir.
Other than the house siren, if you didn't hear it, how did you know about the call?
We went out here. We got a siren.
Other than that, though, if you didn't hear that siren,
That's all we had.
that's all you had?
That's all we had.
So if you missed the siren, you missed the call.
Yes, sir. Yep.
My name is Everett Edwards Sr. I started with Back Swamp Fire Department in 1974 at the original meeting.
Before Back Swamp, do you remember calling for a fire department in the area?
Yes, sir.
Okay, at that time, who would come out this way?
Rich Lambs.
How long would it take them to get out here?
That could vary.
Could vary.
Most time it was 20, 30 minutes at least minimum. And when they got there, the truck was pouring water, so a lot of the water was lost in transportation.
Okay. What was it like to receive a call back then for the firehouse?
Well, it is quite a few around got calls to come to.
Okay. How did you receive a call if there was a fire somewhere? How did you know about it?
A lot of times somebody come by and told you or called you on the phone and told you.
And then you came running to the firehouse.
Right.
Okay. Do you remember your first call in the department?
Well, I can't say I really do.
Okay. What was your most favorite memory while at the department?
I'll say one of my favorite memories was we went to Wilson Fire School. Several of us went up there for a weekend of training, and it was just amazing the size fires they had with the fuel they were burning and the black smoke, and they wanted us to go up under that smoke and go in and put the fire out.
Okay.
And that's been a memory for a long time.
Was that the only fire school around here at the time?
Yes, sir, I think it was.
Okay. What notable calls do you remember as a member?
Repeat that.
What notable calls do you remember going on as a member?
Well, there's several of them. We had several down here around the Floyd Pond area and older houses. Went to a trailer fire over on Cedar Fort Road where a man had appeared to have fell asleep or whatever with a cigarette and burned himself up in that trailer.
Okay.
Piggly Wiggly fire in Richland, the school fire at Trexler in Richlands. Those are all memorable.
Okay. One question that I do have is, how did you get people out of wrecked cars back in the day for like a car crash?
Well, you took the pry bar and tried to pry the door open if you could.
You didn't have any hydraulic tools or anything at the time?
No, sir.
Okay. Any advice for the people who have just started or are thinking about starting at the fire department?
Yeah, go to the training, learn all you can, and put it to use for the community.
Okay. What trucks did we have when you started?
We had I believe it was a 1955 International. We had an old GMC truck that used to be Rand Oil Company, had a tank on it with a pump on the back of it. and then we got a Jeep from the military.
Okay.
That was what we had.
And those are the first three pieces that the department had.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Were they in this building, or were they in a different building until this one was built?
They were in a different building.
Where was that building located?
Across the road, got down the street
Okay.
on Jimmy Fountain's land.
Okay. What positions did you hold here as an officer?
None.
None.
Didn't want nothing.
Okay. So you were just content being just a regular old fireman.
That's correct.
Okay. What year did you stop running calls?
1988, I believe it was. I believe it was 88.
Okay. Who was fire chief in '88?
Irvin Futrell,
Who followed Irvin?
Kevin Rouse.
Who was before Irvin?
Who was for Irvin?
Mm-hmm.
Golly Fountain.
Okay. All right.
And Dick Hood was the training officer.
Dick Hood was the training officer?
Yes, sir. He done a great job.
Tell us the story of when you guys went all the way up to, was it Chicago or Wisconsin to pick up that engine?
We went to Marion, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Went to Marion, Wisconsin. And that was a trip.
Tell us, give us the story from start to finish.
Well, we left there, got about 15 miles down the road and driving in snow up to the bumper of the truck, just in ruts. And Dick's truck, we had two, ours in Turkey Creek we were bringing back. And our truck run hot in all that snow. So we got it, called the dealer, got it towed in, and that was on a Friday. So Saturday morning they got up early and got it fixed for us. And we got on the road and we had Mr. Horse from the county. Mr. Kelly was with us from Wilmington. He was the middleman. And Mr. Kelly was supposed to help us drive anyhow. And the first tank of gas, he slips on the ice and he sprains his ankle, so that ends his driving. So all the driving was left to me and Dick. And we drove all day on Saturday, got into the mountains of North Carolina, late Saturday night, like 10 o'clock, and the road was closed due to fog. So we had to sleep in the cab of the truck for a few hours. And when they opened the road up, we hit the road and come on, and we got here around probably around 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday afternoon. We got back with the trucks.
Okay. If you had to do it again, would you?
Yes, sir.
In a heartbeat, not a second thought.
Even at this age, I'd still do it.
Okay.
My name is Kevin Rouse. Currently, I'm 68 years old. I'm going to have to go back and explain some stuff because I do have a split service time. This whole project of Back Swamp Volunteer Fire Department started in early 74, if I'm guessing correct. There was a meeting held at the Back Swamp Community Building. Mr. Fred McGowan was here, and he explained there was probably 100 people there from the community. And he explained what was needed. And at the time, he was with Rhodestown Volunteer Fire Department. They had already started. They had that meeting. A group of them got together. They made a committee. My father was the first president. But about a week later, he realized that he couldn't do it and work at Camp Lejeune too. So what he did in essence was step down, and Mr. Golly Fountain took over as pretty much the president. They started getting things together. They got bids together. The building, and sometime I'd like to go over the original building and how it was pretty much created. There's been 3 additions. The one we're currently in is the most recent in 2016, somewhere in that range. The original building, Mr. J.C. Green, he was an engineer in the Army. He came up with the plan, devised the plan for the original building. It had 3 bays to it. and we had a pumper, a tanker, and a brush truck. That was the three apparatus that we had when we were chartered. To go into more detail, I was at that original meeting. I was 16 years old. Actually, I didn't even have my license, so I weren't 16. But during that first year of, I'm saying 74, we were cropping tobacco, and they were supposed to pour the cement, and naturally you've got to have the field dirt in. Well, I can show you places in that old building that the cement's about 12, 14 inches deep because we didn't have time to throw enough dirt in before the cement trucks got here. That's just one thing that was a cost that shouldn't have been, but when you ain't got time, you ain't got time. Anyway, when this department started, you notice these helmets, and these are two of the original helmets, but equipment was expensive just like it is now, and a lot of this stuff came from Camp Lejeune. A lot of the turnout gear, helmets. In fact, I think when we started, we had 2 SCBA. They were the metal tanks. They were heavy. They were in boxes. And I promise you, they never came out of the boxes. People did not like to have SCBA on. We like to eat smoke. And if you talk to anybody old, they're going to tell you that. At any rate, when along in the mid-'80s, there was a big turn from the county. The departments that were existing were told you need to lower your ratings, your homeowners rating, your ISO ratings. The first thing that we noticed, Camp Lejeune's turnout gear was cotton duck, not Nomex like it is today. So the first thing we had to do to even get a chance was to have Nomex turnout gear. And not having any money, the county maybe was giving us $6,000 to $8,000 a year for all expenses, and that don't go very far on turnout gear. Us, the members at that time, actually bought their own turnout gear, paid half of it basically. It's $185 if I remember right. And let me go back just a minute. I wanted to say why that I wanted to get into the department. Well, the biggest way that I can explain it, I was raised here. I was raised with Back Swamp Volunteer Fire Department. What started all this, there's 3 instances, and I'll give you examples real quick. There was a woods fire right in front of where I stay today, and my mom and dad stayed right beside me. But there was pine trees that was probably 50 feet high. Forestry, you never saw forestry. This was in the mid to late 60s, and the trees, it was in the treetops, and the trees were right on the edge of the road, and the house was on the other side. That, at 12 years old, that will get your attention. We were sitting in church, the second one that I remember, and all of a sudden, the back door swung open. And they said, Leslie's house is on fire. And I'm not, anyway, Leslie's house was on fire. Well, their daughter was there. And mom and dad took us over there afterwards. The house was ashes. Richlands was the only responding agency here, or that responded here, and the call time was 30 minutes. Anything that was on fire was on the ground by the time they got there. And they lost everything. The community, to show you how tight the Back Swamp community is, they built them a new house. Plain and simple, done. The third thing that affected me personally, on the farm, there was a fire that Dad almost got burned up in. And that's the reason he was so adamant that there be a fire department here. He was inside trying to get the tractor out, and it almost got him. I mean, the building literally almost caved in, and I was probably 14 then. So after seeing all this, hey, I was ready for a fire department too. So like I say, I was at that meeting, the original meeting. I have got some split time between, let's say, 75 and 78. Then I came back in 80 and have served basically ever since. I served as lieutenant for 2 years. I'm gonna say 89 to 91. 91, I took assistant chief under Irvin Futrell and served as assistant until 95. I was elected chief, and from 95 to 2004, I was chief. I went back to assistant chief for another 2 or 3 years, served as deputy chief, which was a new appointment. The biggest thing I can say is I have seen a lot of change. I've got a few things here that I've got laid on the desk. I don't know if you can see this, but this is the original, one of the original patches from Back Swamp. They created one since, but that's about a 50-year-old patch. The Onslow County Firemen's Association patch. Now, I had told a story about the turnout gear. I want to cover the pagers just a minute. When we first started, there was no county water out here. From 75 to 80, no county water, no fire hydrants. The only way, 2 ways that you could get water was either go to Richlands and get it out of their hydrants if you had a fire, or there was a tank on the other side of the building, probably 1,000-gallon tank that was hooked up to a water pump. And that water pump would probably pump maybe 3 to 5 gallons a minute. So you can only imagine a 1,000-gallon tank. You better not have 2 fires in a row. So we talked about the turnout gear being cotton duck and having to replace it. Later on, they did reimburse the members for that $185. The other thing was, when we first started, there was a Federal Signal siren. It was mounted on this side. In fact, like I say, one day I'd like to go over and show where all this stuff was. The control box is still mounted for the system. That's the way that they got alerted, because most of the members were farmers, and they would hear and they would come. Well, then the pagers came out, and once again, that's an old pager, but we actually bought our own pagers. Did not have the money for it. We later upgraded to these, and I bought that one as well with Kevin's money. I didn't get my money back for those, didn't want it, because that was top of the line from having to hear that siren, and I live about 4 miles away, right at the district line. So this is my helmet that I had, that I bought well, I didn't buy it. The department actually bought it, but this was bought in 95. So you're looking about 31 years old. If you notice, and the only way I know to explain it, my whole life I've seen it go from not having SCBA, going into burning buildings, to the point, and I'm going to give you another quick story. What made me a believer in SCBA, we had a fire early one morning on Delbrock Road, It was the Runyon House. And we were fighting it from the outside because it was pure liver. And I walked around the back of the building, pulling a hose, and the smoke I passed out. Just that one whiff. When the smoke fell, I fell down. Well, they hauled me on the rescue squad. They didn't transport me, but I did get some oxygen. But I said from then on, I'm gonna have a SCBA if I fight fire even outside. So I learned my lesson the hard way. But anyway, it's come a long ways. The communications. This is one of the old VHF radios that we had in the day. The VHF is all I can say, but it did the job. It would talk to Central, you know.
How many channels were on it?
That's about a 8 or a 16 channel. There wasn't that many. In fact, I served on the radio committee when the county was talking about going 800 megahertz like the sheriff has and all the others. And after that study, they decided that the fire departments would stay VHF due to the cost and the other things. But they didn't have tactical channels then. They had the main fire net statewide, and that was virtually it. You know, there just weren't that many channels available. And that's what that committee talked about, was having tactical channels, vent channels, which has come up from that now. So,
Do you know why we have a 800 channel, not Viper, like other counties?
it was a decision that was basically made between what that committee found, their findings, but at the end of the day, it was like everything else. It was commissioners. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is for members of the future, there's 3 books that needs to be kept under lock and key in this department. This is the Red Book. It was developed by the Onslow County Emergency Management in the early to mid 90s. That has everything from contracts to basically everything that this department. It's got the 4-mile original Back Swamp Fire District. It was only 4 miles. Then they've got the information where it was expanded to 5-mile district. So this is valuable. Plus, it's proof of when we lowered our ISO rating. And that was right as I took chief. It was in 1994. We went from a 9 to a 6. So
Why was it only a 4-mile the initial?
it's just the way it was when it was structured. The reason they saw the 5-mile district and later on the 6-mile or 6E, 9E, to where it's extended out to where it would still give those people coverage, to where everybody could at least have a class 9 and not a 10. So that was something that, Dick Hood was viable.
What's the difference between the black and the yellow helmet in front of you? Why?
There's no difference.
There was no reason.
There's no color codes or rookie, professional. It's just the way it was at that time. Like I say, it was hand-me-downs. It was hand-me-down stuff
on at that time.
Yeah. Even the hose. And I promise you, when they started to where we were trying to get the ratings lowered, testing this hose, that hose may be 20 years old, and it would not hold the service test pressure. And we had a lot of them bust while we were trying to get it. So the other thing that has built this department, and I'll tell anybody, is barbecue. Barbecue built this department from day one. And I know people, it's a lot of work putting one on, but I'm telling you, that's what built Back Swamp Volunteer Fire Department. Some people wonder about the connection between us and Mike Lowe and Mike's farm. And I will tell you a little history on that. In fact, we donated the 77 pumper that was bought by the county, and then the county gave us the title, and we donated that to remain in Back Swamp at Mike's farm. If you gave out the Christmas lights, 103 is the old 77 103 is sitting there
Which is
in the woods, lit up.
replaced by that current one.
No, it was 105. We got 105, so it kind of layered itself over the years. But anyway, Mike's farm, Mike Lowe himself, goes way back because the first tanker that we had, Everett told you it was an old gas truck from Ran Oil. They took the tank off, and those chassis, I remember going over to Mike's when it was still a farm and sanding on those chassis to get them painted. As far as being safe, it was homemade, and I promise you, the center of gravity on that truck, the tank was mounted above the chassis. And myself and Dick Hood liked to turn it over one day, just coming back from Richlands to get water, because we turned Gregory Fork and Fowler Manning, and where the log trucks had washed out the hose, and that right wheel dual fell in it, and you could feel it
just tipping.
And I looked at Dick like, are we gonna roll this thing right here? It was very unstable, so we let the people know that it was homemade truck, and that's the way a lot of them were at that time. So, we did. I meant to say, we finally got some county water and fire hydrants in the early 80s, 80, 81. We got some water, but until then.
Was the pressure any better than an old pump?
Yes. The pressure when it was first put in, you could get 80 pounds easy of static pressure, not residual, but static from that hydrant daily. Anytime you wanted to. At night, it was higher. But as they kept adding to the system, like everything else, and the county manager has stated, Rick Leary in the day, when everybody was getting their ratings lowered, this was not designed to be a firefighting system. This is domestic water. So anyway, Back Swamp's come a long way.
How happy were you guys when you got the hydrants?
It was a blessing. It was a blessing. And without the hydrants, there's no way that the ratings could have ever been lower, ever. But Charles and myself have talked, and there's no way that we can go much lower on ratings now. The system's upgraded to a lot bigger mains, and the way they're building, they're going to have to, but it's still going to be lower pressures at the end of the day. They're just going to have to go domestic and not worry about fire. So, it's been a good life.
Any notable calls that you can remember from your time?
Oh, I've got bunches of them, but
give us a few.
Probably the Project Wildfires, and we went to several. We went all the way from, we staged at Holly Ridge Fire Department, and as a group, we went into Pender County and almost New Hanover County before it was over. That was in about 85 is when we had that project fire. People talk about fire tornadoes. I've seen two. I've seen one on that fire as we were driving in. It was literally a fire tornado going up in the cloud. It was unreal.
Pretty scary.
That would get your attention. The other one was a house fire right there on Fowler Manning Road. I'd never seen one before. And you know there's some toxic stuff going on when you're standing and looking, and it's a green and then blue, multicolored tornado, fire tornado. That'll get your attention. But you know, the project fires are the big things. I do remember, as Everett said, I remember the Piggly Wiggly fire, probably early '80s, early to mid '80s, say '83. The Trexler fire, we actually had the Jeep, the military Jeep there. I mean, the whole place was burning. It was a middle school light, and it was like 20 degrees. And if you laid the nozzles down, we had 2 nozzles that it busted. They froze. It was that cold. When we got into the building, into the school itself, and you walk down the hallways, there was like icicles that long hanging down. So that was a cold night. And I mean, it lasted like eight hours. Those are the 2 big fires I remember. The last one, in fact, I was assistant chief then. So it was, I'm guessing, probably 93 to 94 on Coston Road. It was called Advanced Genetics. And what they did, it was a big hog operation that was on slab. And what they did, they inseminated the pigs and kind of took the boar out of the picture, if you know what I'm saying. Nobody knew what went on, and it was back off the road. And back then, we didn't pre-plant. So when we got the call, the whole place was up in smoke. And Irvin didn't make it, so I kind of got thrown into the picture. And that was an extreme fire because it lasted days. They had to do something with the carcasses, and normally they would reclaim them, take them out, grind them up into feed, that kind of stuff. The tin had actually melted on the carcasses, and they couldn't, so they dug a big hole. But they took it. The thing that really got me and made me aware how different it is in certain places, you know, you always get the information and you go, well, what's your insurance carrier? We're self-insured. And you're talking at least $1 million loss with all these. There was like, I want to think it was like 400 sows and pigs. I'm going to say probably over 1,000 pigs that was all lost in it, plus the buildings themselves. It might have been millions. And they said, we're self-insured. And I had no clue what that meant. But somebody pulled me off that was from the company and told me, we have looked at the situation. We're willing to not have to pay high insurance premiums, thinking that maybe we'll never get hit. And we're willing to absorb if we did. And they did. They got hit hard. They were a company out of Virginia. So if you ever hear self-insured, they're strong money-wise. So
what's that light there? What was it used for?
that was the first red light that I had. It's dirty and old, plugged into the cigarette lighter. Back then I smoked shamefully, but yeah, that was my go-to. And of course it's magnetic, so the metal dash, it would set up later. So that's old.
Couldn't put them on the dash today, could you?
Well,
not at least how you did back then with it sticking to the dash.
It won't stick to plastic. You'd have to put some duct tape, but no. And there's stories on the red lights too. Unfortunately, when you got them, especially when you're 16, 18, 20 years old, you think your day learn art. You know, I got to get there. I got to go. And sometimes that don't work. Speed. I learned a lesson. You got to get there to do anything. So sometimes that puts an S on your chest when it don't need to be. So, but yeah, I had one. So
there was no minimum age to put lights in your vehicle at that point when you were in the department? You could just, wherever you joined?
different departments around here had different guidelines. Uh, State statutes, you could not have the wigwags on your personal vehicles. You could not have sirens, and we've had some members that have tried both and had to tell them can't do that. So, there's certain things you can do, but if you see that there's a problem on the administrative side, needs to do something about it before they get hurt or hurt somebody else. So,
Anything else you want to add?
I was raised with this department. Like I say, I could talk for a week if you wanted me to.
All right. I'm Charles Fountain, and I am the current chief of Back Swamp Fire Department.
So when did you start at Back Swamp?
In November of 1993.
Before Back Swamp, do you remember who the fire department was for this area prior to us forming in '75?
I'm not that old. Like I actually was born in '76, so in that case, it's always been Back Swamp for me.
How long? So, what was it like when you received a call when you first started?
When I first started, we did have pagers, but we had the fire alarm, the siren, and they would dispatch it, and then we'd hear it on the siren. And our goal was always to be there, and before the siren went off, that was our. It went off for 3 minutes, so we wanted to be at the station ready to go by the time it stopped.
Now, did it go off day and night?
Yeah, and it went off on Saturdays at 12 noon, just like it does in Fountain Town.
Okay. So, do you remember your first call you had in the department? No.
The very first one that we had was a hog farm that was on fire. The very first one, and I didn't even know what I was doing yet at that time. And
how long were you on at that point?
Yeah, I had just started. I mean, like, whenever I had first started, I had used, I already knew how to run the trucks and stuff like that just because I had hung around Dad, and Dad was the assistant chief for like 11 years, I think. And so I had learned a lot from him, but as soon as we had the very first call, we opened the doors to the station, and I could see flames over the trees, and it was all the way over there off Coston Road. So it was impressive. So I was like, oh my gosh.
How did you feel after that first call?
Oh, I was pumped. And we were just joking around a lot after the fact. And we were talking about how jacked up it was that we had ham biscuits, and 3 hog houses were on fire.
What was your most favorite memory while at the department? Or since you've been here, what's your most memorable part of this place?
It's hard to say on that one, being there with Dad, and then fighting fire, and then the fate too.
A lot of memories.
Oh yeah, and I've been here for 33 years, so that's it.
Now you got another one up here, right?
Yeah, we got Levi now, so good times for sure.
Was there any notable calls that you can remember throughout the 33 years so far?
Well, there's a bunch of them. The one I had thought about the most, that was one of the biggest ones I had went to, is the one off of Hall Branch Road. It was the double homicide structure fire one, and we got there, and the sheriff's department, they knew that they had not been able to search it, and then we went in. Or we came up there, they told us to stage at first, and then we went, then they told us to go ahead and proceed to it, and then they said stage again, and then by this time I was within distance, like I could visually see the house. So we went on up there to see what the deal was, and the reason, and I was like, what are y'all doing? Why do you keep telling us to stage? And they said, well, we don't know if there's another person in the house. So we went upstairs, or we went and and just started, fighting fire like we would, and then did a search of the house, and they said that I just told them, I said, if you hear anybody in the house, just come back out, immediately. And something fell in the fire room apparently, and they come running outside, scared to death. And I was like, so we went ahead and I said, well, now it's the police, So we put air packs on the sheriff's deputies, and they went in and checked the first floor, but it was too hot, by that point, because all this took time. So the fire was building the whole time. And then they came back out there like, we can't check the second floor. I was like, well, by this time, if they're up there, they ain't happy, So we went back in then, and it was getting so bad then that we had to back everybody back out, and then we hand jacked some 5-inch across to Christie Drive, and then set up a deck gun and cooled it off, and then we went back in there and attacked it the rest of the way. But the sheriff's department, they were, we got tons of accolades from that, and that was cool. Like, because you could tell that nobody knew what to do exactly, So whenever we got there, they just threw it on me. So, but we had stayed there for like 7 hours. It was a long night.
What rank were you then?
I think I was the assistant chief then.
So, last question we have would be, is there any advice for people who just started or think about starting at the department? Any words of wisdom?
It's one of the most rewarding experiences that you'll have. Nobody realizes how much they'll enjoy it until they get out there and do it. And so I was tickled whenever Levi decided he was going to start, along with me in faith. And like I tell everybody else, I've done it for 33 years on top of doing it as a paid job, so I must love it some.
Where do you work at career-wise?
Camp Lejeune,
Okay.
Fire and Emergency Services. I'm a captain there.
When you started here, what trucks did we have?
The newest one was the old 105. So we had an old tanker, and it was a Ford, and it had a 429 in it. And then we had the old 77 that Mike's farm has. And then we had that old brush truck. It was a weapons carrier. And trying to think of what else. I think that may have been it.
Okay. So we didn't have 104.
Mm-mm. I don't think we had another one.
What was it like?
Oh, we had an ambulance, that old ambulance that was 111, the service truck.
Where'd it come from? You remember?
I don't know. I don't know where they got that thing from.
But was it a true ambulance?
Yeah, it was like one of the long red vans. It was a trip. And it had the floor switches to where you hit it and the horn would go off. So you didn't know which one would dim the headlights and which one would do the horn, and you just scare everybody. That was funny.
Who was the fire chief when you started?
I believe Irvin was the one whenever I was here.
Who was
Irvin
below
Future.
Irvin?
Huh?
Who was below Irvin as the deputy, if you remember?
Dad was most of the time.
Okay. And then who was the assistant chief when you started?
Well, we didn't have a deputy at that time.
Okay, so
It went chief and assistant chief, and that's it.
Okay.
We had a sergeant though, didn't we, back then?
We did. That changed a lot, but I think Glenn was the one when I was there.
What was it like whenever you were here with your dad? Go through that stuff, if you don't mind.
Really, it was about the same, other than we would, we always were competing as to see who'd get out the door the fastest. So we would always just run down the stairs. Sometimes fall down the stairs, but but and then like he had the same goal as I did, try to get to the station before the alarm quit going off. Sorry.
You've always lived close by?
Oh yeah, I've always lived in the quarter-mile stretch out here, and now I live in the same house that I did start with. So
Always been on the first truck out the door at that point.
yeah, for sure. Which
When did over the years you've been here, what additions have we put on the department? Like what buildings were here when you first started?
it was just the old side over there.
Did it have the kitchen when you
It
started?
had the kitchen and everything when I started.
But the outbuildings.
We didn't have any of the outbuildings.
And the new side wasn't even.
No, they weren't even thought of by then.
When was this side built? Do you remember?
It's probably been, I don't know, 12, 14 years ago. Well, yeah, probably about 13 years ago. Because we're still paying on it.
What was over here before? I know there was a tower. What was it for?
It was just the federal Q siren.
Okay.
And then we had a hose rack on the side that we would just be able to pull each one of them up.
When you
That
started
was
here,
not fun.
No.
No.
When you started here, did we always respond to the airport incidents at that time, or were we the only ones at that point that responded to the airport?
We responded, and it was about the same, I would say. We had the same departments and everything by then coming to that.
How has the area grown since you started here? I mean, you lived here back up your whole life, correct?
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, in the years since, the 30 years you've been at Backswamp.
I imagine it's more than doubled since we didn't have. We didn't even have 100 calls. I don't think the first year that I started.
Do you remember how many we had last year?
And last year I think it was 326.
Roughly 300.
So the calls have more than doubled for sure.
Were any of the roads out here dirt when you first started?
No.
Or gravel?
Not really.
No.
They'd all been paid by that point.
Yeah.
I know some people talk about the Hall Branch Luther Banks area.
Yeah. They were all the way they are. They were a lot skinnier. It was tough to drive they widened it like 2 or 3 times. Imagine trying to drive a fire truck down them 2 feet at least shorter or less width. It was a whole lot more of a trip.
Were you chief since you've been chief, sorry, what trucks have we bought? Do you remember?
Here, every one of them was, I was here whenever 105 arrived. So I've been here for every one of them that we had, even the old brush truck that was a 95.
Did you guys go down to Texas to pick up 103 or gone there to see it?
Yep. We flew down there.
Did you drive it home, or did you have it shipped?
We had it shipped. Now that I know what the truck is like, I'm glad we had it shipped. We would have been walking.
What about 104 and 107? They were demo trucks, correct?
Yes. Well, both of them. And 105, the old 105.
It was a demo as well.
Mm-hmm. We bought every one of them just whenever they brought them around to show them off.
Okay.
Like old Dick Hood always said, "You just bring it to the station, they'll buy it."
We did.
And they did. So that was funny.